in trouble over here.
Well, you're whimsically pulling the rug out from under my feet. Everyone was saying 8:30, and then everyone says, "Shut up, asshole." Everyone was saying, "No, shut up." I'm talking to you, Mark. Anyway, everyone was saying 8:30, then 9:30, and I was like, okay. So I got until about 8:15 to really. Then I got until about 8:15 to get some things done, do some stuff around the house, eat dinner, all that stuff. But then all of a sudden, y'all get mad at me because it's 7:45. Y'all are all yelling at me to do this. I'm like, well, y'all said 8:30. What the hell?
Who's yelling at you?
So okay. So I guess we're starting now then. That's fine.
Hello. So what were you doing?
So what's the plan?
Busy?
Running errands, making dinner, or prepping dinner rather.
What kind of
Also, kiss my ass. Anyway, also getting.
Why do you always want me to do sexual?
No, because whatever I answer, you're gonna say it's not good enough, and I don't need to do that, and
I'm
you're
not
God,
saying
and I
it's
need to
not good
blow
enough.
you.
I'm asking you what it is.
Look at you yelling at me, psycho! Look at you yelling at me, screaming at me.
Who's yelling? Who's yelling? I'm asking you a question.
This is gonna be.
And I don't have to answer.
Who's yelling?
And I don't have to answer to you. I can do whatever I need to do.
100% agree with
my
that.
ass.
I 100% agree with that. You don't have to answer to me. I 100% agree with that, Chris. All I'm doing is asking you a question. That's it. I'm not saying, Chris, you better tell me right now. I'm gonna go over there and whatever it is that you want me to do to you, beat you up and drag you out and take your clothes out. Whatever it is that thing that you say. What? So what is it that you were doing? I was working out when you were doing whatever it is you were doing.
Why'd we change the time to 7:55?
Why?
When we said
because my great wife, said, you know what, honey, I'm gonna clean up this room. We move shit around. And I was like, all right, that gives me plenty of time to do a podcast without, being, that whole why are you going over there game. So I'm like, yeah, you're gonna clean up. I'm gonna go see what my buddies are up to. Lo and behold, Mark's at the gym. He's like, oh, give me a few minutes and I'll be ready, dude. No big deal. And then Chris, nowhere to be found. That's why we moved it, because I'm married, and that's it. There's times that, I just try and fill it in, whenever I have that available time, dude. I can't just do whatever I want, dude.
And you forgot that you're a piece of shit, too. Dude.
Yeah, I'm a piece of shit.
Don't forget that. Dude.
I can't just say, you know what? I can't just say, you know what? I'm going to go do things myself because, I don't want to get in trouble, dude. I don't want to get a write-up.
So, Chris, Joe said what he was doing. I said what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
What were you doing?
Right now, at this very moment, I had just gotten my laundry out from the dryer, and also had gotten home from grabbing some things, and so now I was actually prepping dinner. But then I get these frantic IMs on Messenger about this. So okay,
frantic.
I'm Satan if I don't come do this right this very moment when we said 8:30. But okay, all right.
So last question for me. That way you won't feel like I'm attacking you, Chris. And you don't have to answer because I'm not God and I'm not your boss and I'm not, whoever else controls you. So you mean to tell me that whole time after that, when we were waiting for you, you didn't check Instagram, you weren't on Facebook,
I didn't.
You weren't on Snapchat?
I wasn't on my phone other than when my mom called me to ask me some questions about the TV, and that's it.
So there wasn't one scroll?
No. From
okay,
like
7...
From like 7:15 to 7. No. From like 7:15 to 7:45, I wasn't looking on Messenger and all that shit. I was listening to podcasts, prepping some stuff in the kitchen, and my mom called me, and I touched the phone there. But that's it. What is the big deal?
That's all I need. That's all I need.
No. What are you getting at? What's the big deal?
I'm just curious because you always have your phone in your hand, always.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, no.
I'm not saying that you're wrong. Can you let me finish? I'm not saying. All I did was ask you a question, then you turned into some big deal. I'm saying, okay, that's it. You said what you did. You answered my question. That's it. What's so wrong about that?
All right, you're God.
Oh my God! I'm telling you that you answered the question that I had, and I told you you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. That's fine. Why do you feel like you're attacked? I'm just asking you a question. Hey,
no,
dude. How much beer did you drink today?
I'm on drink number 1 actually right now. That's why I'm coherent at 8 o'clock. No big deal.
Attack me. Just attack me. That's what you're supposed to do when you ask somebody a question.
No, it's fine because Chris, he just added to his gimmick. You know how he always says he's a piece of shit? Well, today, I don't know if you heard it, but he goes, all right, I'm a worthless piece of shit. He's
When did he say that?
Right now. You didn't hear him? I heard him. It's okay. You heard.
No, and I don't like when Chris says that about him. So it pisses me off, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like my friends to think that they're pieces of shit. Like I think that I want to be hanging around pieces of shit, dude.
Worthless pieces of shit, dude. You gotta have
Yeah,
on.
worthless, disgusting, lazy, slobby, sweaty pieces of shit, dude. I don't want to hang around people like that. So it pisses me off when he says that about himself, dude. It makes me feel, what? Am I a piece of shit? Because what is that deal? What is that deal?
You hang around with trash.
Like your top 5 friends, and I don't. That's for damn sure. That can't be true. People that know me and know Chris, know that I can't be like Chris. There's no way, dude.
I told
There's
you.
No way. So I get offends me when he says I'm a piece of shit. When you call yourself that, Chris.
Yeah, Chris.
Okay.
Can you stop calling me that when you tell that? When you say that about yourself? You're putting me down when you say that.
I feel like getting a couple shots right now.
You know what I'm saying?
I know you do.
Just to calm my nerves after all this. So
really, you got
what?
You got worked up.
What
You got worked.
Yes.
Well, for what?
Calm your nerves from what?
this.
What happened?
Where your ex?
No,
your
just
ex-baby mama's
everything.
calling you right now?
No, just everything. It's just like, I was chilling out, I was having a good time, and then I get attacked by...
You're having a good time? I was having a good time. Go ahead.
I mean, I was just relaxed. I was just having a good time. I was relaxed. I was making dinner. It was easy. I was listening to some podcasts, all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, 8:30 comes, but fine. But let me just go run over to the kitchen real fast, grab a couple shots, and then, we can start this thing. I'm happy to do it. I wanted to do this podcast since, when I watched the movie last...
You're gonna sit here and you're gonna trash me after what I've been through, Chris, since last year. You're gonna say that?
No, I wanted...
I'm a piece of shit. You're God. I'm a piece of shit.
Yep.
I wanted to do this since last year when I watched the first time, and then this was a good memory jog yesterday when I watched it again on that same channel, which will go nameless so they don't get shut down. If anybody wants to watch Friday the 13th for free, that's the way to do it. But at least I got part 2 on Google Play, so I can watch that when we do that one. But that was a good memory jog. It's a good movie, so I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Oh, it's a great fucking movie. Okay. Dude, I know you're gonna say that I'm a piece of shit, dude. But if I'm not mistaken, my dad took us to the drive-in to see. I saw either part 2 or 3 before I saw part 1, dude. When one of those movies came out, and I remember, the reason why I remember is like it's the first time I saw a man grab a human being and bang him against a tree in a sleeping bag, dude. So that's like my first impression of Jason, dude. And then when we finally me and my brother saw it on VHS, like, what the fuck is this? Who's this person with this bag on his fucking face, What the fuck is this? What the hell is this crap? And then that whole lake gimmick where he's like a little boy or whatever, dude. Like, nope. I didn't understand it, dude. I didn't understand it. For me, it seems like it gets better as it goes.
Okay, yeah. Now I know what you're saying.
It peaks, and then it goes downhill right away, dude. As each movie goes by, dude.
So for those of you that haven't been or listened to the show before, I'm of course your host Joey Cage. We got Midnight Mark over here getting over like a son of a bitch, but we also have this son of a bitch named Christopher J. Now Christopher J, what's your whole background with Jason? I mean, because I know you're not for those of you that don't know, Chris is not a real horror movie kind of guy. So a lot of this is new to him for the most part. But did you ever know about Jason growing up, Chris, or see any of the movies, or that was last year your first time? Not first time doing it, but first time watching Friday the 13th, the first one.
So growing up, I always knew who the character. Like I'm thinking of hockey mask wearing, machete carrying adult. Big mofo, like the character you always saw like drawings of and shit, or pictures of or whatever. I knew that, like high school, whatever, college, whatever. But I'd never seen any of the movies, other than like the very beginning of this first one. Like one time I was at home and it came on at nighttime, and I saw the part where they're sitting around, singing, Kumbaya and all that shit, and they're playing guitar and all that shit. And that was that like first 5 minutes before they get slashed. That was my extent of it. Then in 2009, I went with some friends who wanted to see the remake of it because they're big horror movie marks, and they wanted to see how the remake was going to be. And of course, it was basically similar film but put in a modern context, and it is the hockey mask wearing Jason, not this other little kid, whatever. So that was interesting, and I enjoyed that. But getting to see this and everything, it's kind of like it's a good experience here doing this because I'm getting acquainted with the horror classics, which again I grew up not really watching that. I grew up watching the movies like Back to the Future, Karate Kid, Beverly Hills Cop, like movies that are like a little more realistic, maybe a little bit of sci-fi and a really, really good story and good dialogue. But I never was into horror movies, slashers, stuff like this. So learning this, Omen, Change of stuff, is pretty neat.
It's pretty kick-ass. I'm glad you brought up, that you're not feeling like a piece of shit no more, because now you're learning good horror movies. It's kind of like with me when I don't know shit about Starcade. I'm over here walking around with my thumb up my ass, and you guys are showing me, hey, check out this Starcade, hey, check out these dudes. And it's the same thing with these movies, trying to get basically the classics, out of the way, so you have some kind of something to to understand how the horror movies kind of go, because then you'll see other ones and you'll be able to compare them. Because like with this one, when we start talking about it more in depth, it's a lot like Psycho, which is like an older film. But anyway, with me, I used to always go to the rental video places, and I would see the covers of all the Jasons. And even back then, like in early 90s, man, there was, of course, they were all released in the 80s and 90s. They were like on part 8. And I'm like, I had never seen a film franchise with so many fucking sequels. I'm like, God dang, how many covers? And because I always looked at the covers. I'm like, how many fucking covers are of Jason in part 7 and part 8? And you're like, what the fuck, So I was always kind of.
Can I interject right there? Because that's what it felt like growing up, like 5th grade, 6th grade, whatever. Like, you think about, I was in 5th grade, 93, 94. I was in 6th grade, 94, 95. And so, like, in those years, you would always hear people, like, other kids talk about, it'd be like a pissing contest, like, oh yeah, well, I've seen Nightmare on Elm Street 7, and like it would be like, the movies go that high?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was thinking to myself.
What kind of pussy school did you go to where y'all are? Oh, yeah, I see this way, Freddy. I see this way.
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
We went to
what kind of easy suburban middle school did you go to?
Well, no, it was a very suburban middle school, I admit, but we went to the residue at the Manure Middle School, and then they would always start talking about this shit after daylight shaving cream.
The residue at the Manure.
Not interested.
Yeah, I know you talked about the Friday the 13th remake. Yeah, and that first one, the remake, it condenses part 1, 2, and 3 all into one. It kind of just shows like the flashback of Jason's mother, and then it shows, and it kind of has the part 2, what Mark's talking about, is when he wears that bag over his head, and for a little bit of the film, and then it goes to the hockey mask. They kind of condense all those, the first 3 into one film, which I thought was pretty cool. I know a lot of people trash the remake because it's a remake, and most remakes are trash, but I thought that one was pretty cool that they're able to do that, because like once we go through all the films, like me and my wife were watching it yesterday, part 2, and we were like, man, this fucking film sucks, because like, of course you're gonna have your own opinion, right? But I'm like, this fucking, what the hell's up with this sackhead? Like, and then he's so vulnerable. Like, the chick's able to push him down, and if you go to 3 and 4, that's when he becomes a badass. But we're not there yet. Anyway, we'll go ahead and get into the film now. So, like you said, it starts off with them singing. Was it Kumbaya?
Yeah, it was. Michael row your boat ashore. Hallelujah. And then the milk and honey and a whole lot more. And then that shit.
I thought it was that. We're coming to America. I don't know why I swear, I always thought for some reason they sung that song, dude. I don't know why that stuck in my head, and then I was like, wait a minute. Did they redo this, but I guess it'd be silly to redo that mother. But wouldn't it be better if it was We're Coming to America by Neil Diamond or whatever?
It set the tone, right?
I'll live with that again, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, it starts off, it's like a flashback of it's 1958. And like like I was laughing because like the chick's playing guitar and the guy's giving her that Mark look, like he's at the Home Depot and how's it going? He's over there just doing things himself. Yeah, and all
in the pecs.
Yeah, dude, yeah, what's up? And then they go upstairs, right? And then we get that point of view of the killer, which I don't know. Well, yeah, it was used before, but here it's like a real distinct thing for this film because the whole film is just we don't know who the killer is. You just see it through the eyes of the killer, which of course, for those of you spoilers, this is going to be a spoiler fucking podcast. Of course, the killer is Pamela Voorhees, who's Jason's mother, which of course is like the star of all the other films, Jason. But we don't know that, so all we're seeing is her point of view. And I always laugh when the dude, like, they're there, but they're making out. I think they're just about to unbuckle their gimmicks, right? He's like, "Oh, we weren't doing nothing. We were just fooling around." I'm like, "Oh my god, that's typical. That's typical Chris right there, dude. We weren't doing nothing, dude. We were just having appetizers.
We're having a good conversation.
Having a good conversation. Yeah. Oh my god. So yeah, they fucking. That's how it starts off, and the two counselors they end up dying, and it fast forwards to June 13th, 1980. Of course, this film was released that time.
Can I stop you on that?
Go ahead, dude. Whatever you want to say.
Well, I mean, it's just interesting because this film is produced by Paramount, and now Paramount Film Company was founded. I actually looked this up yesterday. May the 8th of 1912.
Wow.
And this film came out one day after their 68th birthday, May the 9th, 1980.
Oh shit. Wow.
Man, Chris, your lady friend must really enjoy her time when she's with you and y'all are having good conversation. Those little trivial things. You're like, hey, did you know that?
1 year to the day.
Her panties must come right off the moment she walks into that 2-bedroom, dude.
Then I can't blame him for coming right off.
Oh,
me
fuck.
either.
Mm-hmm.
Me either.
He's over like a son of a bitch. So we're here in present day, and we have this chick that's hitchhiking her way. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all folks out there. I'm not really good with the names of these people because there's just so many people and they're not on screen for too long, except for this first girl. I think is her name Annie. I think her name's Annie.
Annie.
Yeah, and she's hitchhiking to go. Right.
They're all throwaway characters.
They're all jobbers, right? They're all jobbers. Yeah. Basically, you have they're all counselors, and the only one that you're gonna remember is Alice, Adrienne King, who's like the main character, the one that survives at the end, and that working son of a bitch, Steve Christie, who owns the camp. So everyone's going there because Steve Christie's supposedly he's that's supposedly, but he's rebuilding, he's getting everything organized for it so they can be open in the summer or whatever for the kids, and so he's hiring a bunch of counselors. And the funniest thing is, because that chick's, hitchhiking, but I'm going to skip over really quick, is like, this motherfucker, like, when everyone finally shows up, he's there cutting wood, right? And he's like, a little bit after that, he's like, all right, I'm going to go, I'll be back before lunch or whatever. And I'm like, well, it must be early in the day, because, I didn't snap until I watched it again. I'm like, wow, this whole film takes place in one day. I didn't notice that all this shit happened in one day. It's kind of strange. Anyway, he says, yeah, I'm going to take off, and I'll come back before lunch. That motherfucker doesn't show up again, so, like, it's completely dark outside, and I'm like, what the fuck was that dude doing all fucking day, dude? You know what I mean? I'm like, that's that Christopher J. I'm busy routine. I'll be back before lunch, and he shows up fucking 9 o'clock at night, dude.
Well, you know what he was doing? You know exactly what he was doing.
What was he doing, dude?
He went down, he got in the vehicle, went down to the fucking Dairy Queen, had 2 belt busters, and then he took like a 6-hour nap, dude. I mean, he's like somebody I know, dude.
And then maybe if it was his like once a month cheat day or some shit like that, he had a couple of belt busters. But that dude does not look like he's eating a whole lot of that. But then granted, he takes a little bit of liberties with walking around with his shirt off. But he is, like you said yesterday when we were talking about this privately, Joey Cage. He is over as a motherfucker. First, after the 1958, boyfriend girlfriend gets slashed,
Then it goes into the opening credits, like.
Dun 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 dun.
You hear that?
Yeah.
And it's just interesting because like that's that Wings Paul McCartney the Let 'Em In song.
I'm interested.
But it's like, did you notice in that opening credits song that it has that doorbell grandfather clock chime, but in an evil progression?
I really didn't even pay attention to it, dude. I actually had no idea that was in there till you said it. I'm like, is that on there? Because I thought it started off with like just dun dun dun, like that little Psycho and Jaws mix. Like I know you've probably never seen Psycho, or you may have, but it has a lot of that all that gimmick, and then of course
does.
the Jaws, venom, you know, like kind of like a mixture of the both of those shits.
It does, but if you really, really listen to that whole song, and I even last year I noticed this when I watched it last year, I remember it having that doorbell chime, grandfather clock chime, but they change up the progression. I think they maybe flat one note, and it makes it sound evil, and not melancholy like when you flat a note, but this makes it like evil, someone scary's coming to get you. But then it fades out of that song, and it fades into the downtown of that small town, and it's the downtown
Leroy Brown.
Clock. Yeah, downtown Leroy Brown, Jim Croce, that's right. So and it has that town clock playing.
Or Charlie Brown from downtown.
Downtown Charlie. But it plays the town clock doing that chime, but the normal way, the normal standard way. And then there's fucking Annie walking in there, and she's way too much Prozac, way too much lithium, and you know, wanting to go to Camp Crystal Lake, and everyone's looking at her like she's got mustard on her face or some shit.
Mm-hmm. Like she just ate all the chicken wings and didn't leave none for anybody else, right? That they gave her that look.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
no big. What?
Yeah, dude, it's over. Like, she goes in there, she's like, anyone know how to get to Camp Crystal Lake? All that shit. And that one truck driver, I don't know his name, or forget his name, but he's like, yeah, I'll take you over there. That's Camp Blood or whatever. But before he does that, Crazy Ralph, dude, that motherfucker, he's the best worker in the whole film. It's got a death curse, you know. And like Chris getting someone over, dude, you know, like that's what that dude's doing. He's already building up the fucking Camp Crystal Lake. And yeah,
but that character Ralph is a less meritorious version of the priest in The Omen. Mm-hmm. Like, he keeps showing up trying to tell
everyone
the
about
protagonist. Yeah.
The best part of that scene though is when he takes off on a bicycle, dude. It reminds me of Ray.
What's up, Ray?
Yeah, you remember that shit when he like jumps on that bicycle all fucking over that shit looks, dude? He's this 60-year-old guy just takes off on a bicycle, dude. I mean, you don't get the film doesn't get much more over than that. But they all show up on the at the camp, and that's like I said, Steve Christie takes off, and that's when not much happens during the film, other than, you know, for a while everyone starts going swimming, and you know, a guy pretends to drown so he can make out with a chick. And
Ned Rubenstein,
yeah, is that the guy that does it?
That motherfucker's over too. Like, he's a big jokester. Like,
yeah, that's the guy with the arrows. He's doing the bow and arrows at the fucking, and he almost kills that chick. Yeah, Brenda.
And he's the guy, like, he goes around breaking balls, but in a joking, harmless way, and he does that, and like, he's kind of the guy that'd be the life of the party. But I mean, you know, then that's him, and then, you know, he's riding there on the way to camp with Kevin Bacon and the chick that plays Marcy.
Yeah, that's that's Kevin Bacon's chick, and then Brenda. She's not really with anyone, right? She just ends up playing Monopoly at the end with Alice, and is his name Bill? The other guy that's fucking that kills the snake. Yeah.
Bill Brown. Yep.
Yeah, dude. So that was a real snake that they ended up killing in the cabin in the middle of the film, and so yeah, they just chopped up a real snake, dude. So. That's how you did it back then. You just started cutting motherfuckers, dude. You know what kind of snake that was, Chris, or what?
I don't know the kind of thing, but I'm glad you brought that. I didn't know that they actually killed a real snake there in the cabin, but it speaks to the way of production in late 70s, early 80s. Like, remember when we did the Exorcist podcast, we said, what did they do? They did tricks to make the actual room temperature like 30 degrees in the fucking room, and that chick to this day has, like, you know, nervous tics about cold weather.
Yeah.
And I mean, so you had to make it real. You didn't have CGI back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. You had to get it over, you know, the right way, the real way. But like I said, not much happened. Go ahead, dude. I was waiting for you to jump in.
I was gonna say I don't think they it wasn't by choice or like, well, let's try to make it look real. I think it was, hey, motherfuckers, y'all have $1,800 to film a movie. Here's 2 cameras, and y'all are each getting $5 a piece, dude. I think that's what that was, dude. I don't think it was, let's use real snakes, and, give it some realism and be creative.
Yeah.
CGI.
Yeah.
So let's just say money was tight, dude. Let's just say that, dude.
Yeah. You told him, hey, there's a belt buster in it for you. If y'all can get a real snake, dude, y'all go find one, bring it over here. It'll be a belt buster for whoever's able to find it. He had 2 belt busters. It took a 6-hour nap.
Hey, Chris, how many belt busters do you think you've eaten in your life, dude? Hold on. Don't answer that. Now, Joe, I'm going to go over and under on belt busters, dude.
All right.
15, dude. So you're saying over or under on Chris's belt busters, dude? His entire life.
Over like a son of a bitch, dude.
No, it's not. No, because like the Dairy Queens I've been to in my life, like whenever we've gone there, 9 times out of 10. I mean, there's been times I've gotten burgers there, but 9 times out of 10 it's just ice cream. So.
What a piece of shit.
What is it with you and ice cream?
I mean, like I said, I've had a few belt busters there, but it's not 15. Not in my lifetime. No. Maybe 10. Maybe.
That means it's over 15 for sure, dude. Maybe 10. You're playing mind games. You're playing mind games now.
Whatever he tells, he downplays the important stuff. He downplays, and the stuff that's not important, he like oversells it, dude.
Yeah.
You know what that means? So it's probably like 85 belt busters.
So, Mark, what do you think about the movie? So you're sitting here trashing me. What about we're doing a podcast about the movie here?
We're talking about the movie. What do you want to know?
What do you want to know, dude?
So here we were talking about Ned Rubenstein being the jokester, and he faked his drowning. And that's one of the things. These kind of movies, they don't have the constant startling like today's horror films. It's a constant startle, and it'll be fake, like false finishes in wrestling. It'll be the fake startles, just to get you worked up. But this is kind of that same kind of feel because you see the camera in the wooded part of the forest, and looking at that. And then he gets up, and then there he is, and then he kisses her once he gets revived, fake revived or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like what's his name in The Sandlot, and he fakes his drowning so Wendy Peppercorn will revive him or whatever.
Wendy Peppercorn.
When are we doing the Sandlot review, dude?
All right, well,
whenever.
Y'all be down to do that one or what?
I'm fine with it.
I'm down, dude.
No, for sure. I've never seen it, dude. I've seen pieces of it, but I've never seen it.
Oh, we saw that shit in the theater when it came out, dude.
Oh, really? What the fuck? Yeah. No, I haven't seen that. I mean, like everyone tells me about it. Of course, I know what it is and all that, but I've never sat there and seen the whole film. I know they go swimming, and there's there's a scene there that's pretty famous. I don't remember what it is, but I remember, And is that the one with?
The reason why it's famous because there's a fat kid that jumps in the pool and all the water comes out. Dude.
How many belt busters?
There's a fat kid involved, dude.
How many belt busters that fat kid have? Probably, dude. More than Chris, or?
Oh, dude, probably the same amount.
But anyway, back to the film before Chris starts shaking. So when Annie's on her way to the fucking camp. The guy's only gonna drive her so close or whatever, and she ends up getting a ride from a Jeep, dude. And she's lucky it wasn't a Range Rover, dude. She would have to pay her way somewhere else, but it was a Jeep. And she's there talking to the killer, which we don't know who it is. And they start hauling ass, and she's like, "I think we should slow down. Or I think we should stop." And then she ends up jumping out, dude. And fucking. I think it's hilarious, dude, the way she does that. I don't know. It's like kind of like bad acting, but it's funny because it's that nervousness that
kind of.
Yeah, it was bad acting, but it's kind
of bad. It's that Jesse Smollett acting or Smollett, whatever the fuck it is, right?
Yeah,
actually, the people in there actually acted better than he did on that interview. By the way, dude.
Don't get me started on that shit. I've watched since Monday night. I've watched so many fucking videos about that shit. Oh my gosh.
We'll do a podcast after this one, a small one about Jesse Smollett or however you pronounce.
I'm fine.
We gotta do a podcast. We gotta do a podcast on how you pronounce that motherfucker's name, dude. That's the fucking thing.
That's
And then
the
we
thing.
can trash you know who.
Oh, for sure, dude. For that's for damn sure. But yeah, she jumps out and she runs into the woods, dude. She does that working running, and then she ends up getting her throat slit.
Wow.
She's the first one to get killed in the film, and everyone's waiting for her because she's supposed to be like the cook. And that pissed me off because they're there and like I think the power goes out or something's not working, and they're like, "Can you stay here and watch the burgers?" And I'm like, "There's no fucking burgers. All I see is buns here. You know what the fuck is up with this bullshit? You know?" And all of a sudden, oh yeah. Isn't it supposed to be like in the summer or some shit, and it starts having the worst thunderstorm of all time in that film? Is there? I mean, there's not typically thunderstorms like a motherfucker, right?
The film itself, as far as the actual, shoot filming, was actually done in September of '79.
Yeah. But I'm saying
So
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, dumbass.
No, and that's the thing, and it's filmed on basically the East Coast. Filmed the
Jersey.
where it was filmed, in Jersey, an hour west of Newark, and an hour southeast of Scranton, Pennsylvania. So I mean, the further east you get, the more lightning and thunder and crazy sporadic rain you get.
So anyone who wants to go there,
Meteorologist.
Chris gave you the directions, dude.
Can you imagine when his lady friend comes over, dude, and the weather just kind of changes? How impressed she must be hearing those kind of things, dude.
he gets over, dude. He gets over.
How impressed is she, Chris, when she hears those little witty things that you tell her?
Extremely.
That's why she can't stay away from you, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. Keep going.
Oh, okay, God.
Keep going. And he starts snapping his fingers. So she's the first death, and then I forgot exactly what's going on, but Ned, Chris's favorite guy, because he's so fucking hilarious. He like sees or hears something in like one of the abandoned cabins or whatever, and he goes in there. We don't end up seeing him till way later when I think Kevin Bacon and that his girlfriend, who was Marcy, they're going at it, right? And he's like on the top bunk, and so we see him like that he got stabbed in the throat or some shit. So we don't get to see his death, but he dies. And then Kevin Bacon, the most famous scene, probably like the best death in the film besides Pamela Voorhees, is when after they do it, he's laying on the bed and that fucking arrow comes through his neck. And that was pretty badass, like he said, like they have to make it as real as fuck, and they don't have that much money. They did a damn good job, dude. Because you think about the budget in this film, they did it for about $500,000, dude, which is that's not much, dude. And they're able to get all this kind of crazy shit done. And
they paid $500,000 for that film.
It was to make the film.
Movie?
Yeah.
That's what, they spent that much money.
Yeah.
To make that piece of crap.
Right. Yeah. Because there's not much going on.
Man.
There's not much going on, right? I mean, like they're like, and they hired those actors for cheap, from what I remember reading.
Fuck.
They were
No
cheap.
way.
Yeah, like most of the money was like for the effects, I guess, dude.
And you got to figure. So this is probably Kevin Bacon's first, film, and on top of that, the budget is like you said, 500,000 is actually 550,000. At the box office, it did 59.8 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another fucking
So
blockbuster.
They knew they had a winner.
They knew they had a winner, dude. When that shit started making a few million, dude, they fucking we got ourselves a winner. Then and the director on the sequel, he jumped on that.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I mean, if you figure if they had only made $5.5 million, that would have been a 10 times return on their investment.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty. It's
Wow.
that's. Oh fuck. Marcy's down, Kevin Bacon. Oh, Marcy gets the axe through the head, dude. And the whole movie, she's just fucking nippling it up with that fucking pink shirt. And who else we got in here? And then Brenda. So while they're all doing that, they get killed. We have Brenda, and is it Bill? I think I always forget the name. Bill, and then Annie or Alice. Yeah, they're playing Monopoly, strip Monopoly, right? But no one gets over, and that's when it starts storming. And that chick, Brenda, ends up going to lay down by herself. She's brushing her hair, and they have that one scene where like the killer's behind like a curtain. I guess it's like a restroom, locker room or some shit that she walks to, because they don't look like a regular cabin or whatever it might be. But anyway, yeah. So we see that, and she ends up running outside, and we don't see her get killed. I think we just see her body later on, right? Am I right about that?
Yeah. Same thing with Ned Rubenstein. You don't see him get killed. He just walks up. Oh, hey, how you doing? You know, like, dude, everyone does that with him.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
This whole fucking movie, everyone's doing that. But at the same time, like, okay, so, fuck, you made me lose my train of thought. So, okay, I like the literary device. The use of literary devices, like you see the thunder and the rain coming before all the kids that went to the camp get killed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously Annie had been killed, but no one else, and you know, and then Ned Rubenstein got killed, and then after the Ned Rubenstein murder, that's when you see the thunder and the rain, and it's a foreshadowing. That's literary device. It's a foreshadowing of bad things about to come down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then,
why do you gotta say the guy's full name? Why do you gotta say Rubenstein or Ned Rubenstein? Why can't you just say Ned?
That's the name of the character.
Okay, but how come you don't say everybody else's full name?
He introduces himself to Steve Christie as Ned Rubenstein.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but you don't call everybody else. You don't call him Steve Christie, do you? You just call him Steve. I think you're
Steve
doing
Christie.
that because you really didn't watch. You didn't watch it. You're trying to make us believe that you watched it. I try to give as much detail as possible. That's what I think. And you know, from your pattern in the past, it's very believable.
Okay. How many blowjobs you had this week?
How many, dude? Everyone's interested.
38?
Oh, man.
50?
Nobody's interested in that, dude.
I am.
Interested in that.
I am.
Nobody's interested in that. Okay, let's take a vote here. We'll see what everybody's more interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Want to know how many blowjobs I got? Raise your hand. Just Chris, obviously. Because he likes... I don't know what it is about sexual stuff with me. But Chris is always... Why are you into that shit? Chris, why are you into sexual stuff with me? I don't get it.
Just let everyone know how powerful and rich you are.
I'm not gonna. None of that is true. So, or do you want to know how many texts Chris had with his lady friend today?
Okay.
Oh, dude.
That's the other option.
Anyway, and so the thing about this, the whole thing is, there's the movie has so many things about it that are not, they're not all encompassing as a theme in the movie. Like, for example, like I told you, the evil doorbell grandfather clock chime. Mm-hmm. And when does anyone ever ring doorbells? When do you ever hear a grandfather clock other than the town clock at the beginning of the movie? And that's it. Same thing here.
Save the clock tower.
Same thing. They did a better job in Back to the Future. Same thing here. So, again, you've got gosh damn it, I forgot where I was going with this.
That's interesting, Chris. Very interesting.
See, Mark jumps in to save you, dude. He gets you that hot tag, dude, when you fucking.
I'm Brian Alvarez in your disco. Okay, anyway, so no, so
don't
you
know
got.
Who that is, Mark.
Anyway, you know. Anyway, so Friday the 13th. You never hear that date referenced or mentioned in the movie once until
the end, right?
Christie gets the ride from Sergeant Tierney.
Yeah.
Back to the camp. And they say, oh, yeah, it's Friday the 13th. Oh, we got a full moon, and that makes people act crazy. But other than that, the whole movie, it's called Friday the 13th, and you never hear the date mentioned. They don't even, like, you would think Annie walking into the cafe, they would mention it once, to set the theme, set the mood. But you don't hear it until, like, 3/4 of the way in with Sergeant Tierney giving Steve Christie the ride.
Stop saying their full names.
I'm sorry, Mark Ramos. I won't do that again.
He's a sorry piece of shit, ain't he?
He is, dude. He's over here. He's over here thinking he's cute, dude. He's over here thinking he's real fucking funny. I go there to a fucking baseball bat to his fucking kneecaps. Anyway.
Yeah.
But am I right though? It's like the movie's called Friday the 13th. You don't even hear it mentioned until, the movie's almost done.
Well, I mean, you don't.
Chris, how many times have you heard them say Die Hard in the movie Die Hard?
That's a completely different thing. It's like, okay, a movie's called Friday the 13th. Why is it Friday the 13th? Like Back to the Future, and then you see halfway through the movie, Doc Brown tells Marty in 1955, "We're taking you back to the future."
Hey, Chris, how many times have you seen Braveheart?
Once, when I was 11.
And do you remember them saying the phrase, the two words together, Braveheart?
Totally different, dude. This is the movie's named
it's
after
a movie.
The movie's named
fucking
after a
movie.
date. The movie's named after a
does
date
that
on the
matter?
calendar.
What does that matter? What does that matter?
I say it's like, okay, if it's Friday the 13th, what does Friday the 13th have to do with this? Braveheart is a phrase you can loosely associate with people being courageous about something. Friday the 13th is a date on the calendar.
Oh, man, 'cause nothing gets by you, Chris.
Oh, Joey Cage, you want to interject here? What do you think? The one time they mentioned this toward the end.
Oh, it's just like you said, just the name of the movie. It's sometimes they try and fit it in if they're able to do so, and it was just a date, and they just like, hey, we can talk about how it's bad luck and people act crazy towards the end, but it's not something like that they have to. Hey, dude, it's called Friday the 13th, dude. We gotta ram it home, dude. We gotta start off this movie. We gotta keep it going. Everyone needs to talk about how it's Friday the 13th. I don't think that you have to do that.
It's like having the guys on WWE point at the WrestleMania thing every fucking match, dude.
Exactly.
Stupid.
Yep. Exactly.
How many times have you seen Child's Play?
Or hear what's that motherfucker's name? The head announcer or the head commentator? Michael Cole. Yeah, Michael Cole. Go, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Every match, dude, is the great. Every match. Oh wow, that's the greatest. I'm like, man, this guy's he's using it all up for the whole night, dude. This is unbelievable. I can't stand Michael Cole's commentating, but that's for something else.
But here's all I'm saying. I'm not asking for overkill. I'm not asking for jamming it down people's throats. What I'm asking for is, I mean, beyond the 3/4 mark of the movie, could they have opened it up with like showing in the diner a calendar that showed that it was Friday, like something to set that tone? But you don't even know it's Friday the 13th until 3/4 of the way in.
Well, the date comes out. The date comes out when.
Have you ever seen the movie The Chain Link?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
The payoff is when he establishes what happened with the estate transfer and the kid that went over to Switzerland and came back and all that stuff. That's the payoff. And when they say you are and he tells him to his face, you were a changeling for the rightful heir to this.
At the end, towards the end, right? What's the
but
difference?
that's a payoff. But like, why would you wait for a deep? That's not a huge payoff. Like the fact that someone's going around murdering someone on Friday the 13th, that's not a payoff.
I don't know what the big deal is, but okay. So where were we, dude? Because Chris went on this Friday the 13th rant, dude, about the fucking the gimmicks, and that's fine, dude. That's fine, dude.
He needs rules. He needs rules, is what it is, dude.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is.
That's all this fucking is, dude. And so after all that bullshit, while all that's going on, Steve Christie, what we talked about earlier, decides to take his Rudy Pucandy ass back to the fucking to the camp, dude. I can't, like I said, it's like so hilarious. If you ever end up watching the movie again, which I'm probably not gonna watch too much because it was okay, but we'll talk about that later. But fucking, he's over there and he finally decides to show up hours later after I'll be back before lunch. Like, when the fuck is lunchtime, dude? God dang, motherfucker was ridiculous.
I know a guy.
It's ridiculous. I know a guy. I know a piece of shit. And so he's doing that gimmick, and like you said, his Jeep gets stuck in the mud, and it's like this Jeep we see throughout the whole film. And like, if it's obviously, like, I know, Pamela Voorhees is the killer, you guys know that, but like, if you're watching and you don't know that, they try and make you think that, hey, the killer could be Steve Christie. He's been gone all day. He drives a fucking it's like, I think it's almost the exact same Jeep when I look at it.
Yeah.
It's like the doors and everything are the same. I haven't sat down and broke it down, but from what I
rag top and everything.
Yeah, I was all like, is that the same fucking Jeep? So they try and hammer that one home today. It's probably, and then he has a what's that, like that little knife holster that he has, and we see that from the killer during the film too. And so the cop ends up giving him a ride home. Everyone that gets a ride home doesn't get exactly where they need to be. They always get cut off because the cop gets like a little phone call, or it gets a phone call. He gets some orders to go somewhere else. So he ends up walking towards the rest of the camp, and that's when he gets confronted with the real killer, and it's supposed to be like the surprise, like, oh shit, it's not him, and it's Pamela Voorhees, and that's when the shit gets really over. It's the payoff for the film. I always hear people say like this is the best one and all that. I don't agree, but the ending of this film was pretty badass. Like I did enjoy when once the killer is finally known, and you know she shows up and she starts acting crazy, dude. She's like the only one in the film that's doing some working, dude. And it gets pretty much over, dude. What did you think about her acting, Mark? Did you think she got over when she starts doing that? Kill her, mommy, kill her. You know, it sounds like Chris, dude, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. It just sounded like something he would say when like one of his enemies is you know in danger, dude.
Mm-hmm.
But you know,
Someone steals his ice cream. Someone steals his ice cream, dude.
Yeah. I just the whole fucking movie just I'm trying to watch it. I'm like, man, it's fucking awful, dude.
Mm-hmm.
She stands out. Like, you know, she sounds like a lunatic. Obviously, she's a fucking lunatic.
Yeah.
But she stands out because everybody else is so terrible, dude.
Yeah, exactly, right?
So, that's what I'm taking from the whole movie. Like, how the fuck did this movie get so popular? Was there nothing else going on for 4 months at the movie theater? Like, man, this is fucking badass, dude.
Yeah.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
The 2, 3, and 4, the ones after that are way better than this shit, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrible, dude. How many times are we gonna see somebody folding clothes? Or, god damn, dude, it's fucking boring.
Yeah.
I thought it was awful.
What do you think about Pamela Voorhees acting towards the end of the film, Chris?
Oh, she was fantastic. I mean, it's what she's doing is she's channeling her dead son. So her son died drowning, and so she's channeling him like, kill her, mommy. Like she's saying what she's spiritually, divination-wise, whatever, channeling her son, and so she's now possessed by this evil spirit to go kill anyone who's some kind of attractive camp counselor, you know, case point Alice Hardy or whatever, and she's gonna go kill her and come after her and all this stuff because she's out for blood, she's out for revenge because she's demonically possessed by the, you know, supposed spirit of her dead son to get revenge.
Well, I don't even think she's possessed. I think she's just crazy, dude. You know, some people, like, they just fucking black out and they want to start, you know, taking sand wedges to people's kneecaps, dude. Like, just, they're not possessed. They're just a little crazy.
Goons.
Hiring
goons and
yeah.
Shit like that. You know anybody like that, Chris?
Your heart's beating faster. Your blood runs cold. You're haunted by visions of the stories they told. There's a master Salem.
Yeah, she's the only one that gets kind of over towards the end. And like Mark says, like she stands out because everyone else is so fucking horrible, dude. You know, everyone else is just like Alice. She's supposed to be the main character, and she, you know, I guess we'll get into the characters. I'll just finish off what happens during the film, and then we'll get into it. But so fucking. She starts acting all crazy, right? And she starts explaining what everyone already knows in the film, because obviously people have talked about, hey, well, there was an accident, you know, some boy drowned, 2 counselors got stabbed, and then there was a fire. So they're like, and then she starts coming out, you know, she just comes out and fucking says it, you know. She starts talking about how her son, you know, died or drowned because the counselors were making love, and they should have been paying attention to him, and that's when they go at it. They have that rumble. And the funny thing is that when they were doing that shit, the film, the mother, you know, Betsy Palmer, Pamela Voorhees, she was, I guess she did, is it theater acting, I guess? And she ended up hitting, like Adrienne King, you know, Alice for real, like a few times, like smacking her, you know, because she didn't know how to work, dude. She was just like, hey, this is how we do it. She started shooting.
Potato wiener?
Yeah, is that a potato wiener? Yeah, dude. They didn't know she was a shooter, dude. They had no idea. And so, you know, eventually, Alice ends up cutting off the mother's head. Dude. She ends up cutting her off her fucking head, dude. No big deal, right? And that part was pretty over, dude. It looks pretty crazy because you can see what's supposed to be kind of like the bones, in the neck. So they do that gimmick, and the biggest part of the film, I think that most people, that are fans of Jason, not really a fan of the first film, is when Alice is in the boat in the lake, and then Jason pops up towards the end. Now, Chris, I don't know if you knew that part was gonna happen, dude, but did you shit your pants a little bit when that happened?
Shit.
No, I didn't.
He took it as a threat. He took it as a threat.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't frightening, but it was like, whoa. But then she wakes up in the fucking hospital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she's talking to Sergeant Tierney. She's like, what about everyone else? What about the little boy?
Mm-hmm. What happened to the little boy? And then, go ahead, dude.
So that fucking, it's never said. So that Jason, he's a little mongoloid dude.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what he?
Yeah.
Special needs kid.
Yeah, the special needs, dude. Exactly.
You know anybody with special needs, Chris?
I
Chris,
don't.
have you ever had a vendetta? Have you ever had a vendetta against a special needs person?
I can't say I have, but that's what surprised me.
That's
like,
a fucking lie.
I always had the image in my head of Jason as like this full-grown adult, like 6 foot something, hockey mask wearing, machete wielding, motherfucker.
Wheeling,
Where did
dealing.
you get that idea from?
Back
Chris?
from the dead and all this shit, but then fucking you see this little boy grabbing fucking Alice Hardy on the boat.
Yeah.
A little mongoloid, Chris. Say be politically correct. Say a mongoloid.
Mongoloid, dude. Motherfucker's over though. So yeah, he ends up popping out at the end of the film, and they didn't have that originally in the film. I think that they were supposed to just have the happy ending, bullshit or whatever. And I think Tom Savini, who's like the guy who does all the special effects, real famous dude. He did all the Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead gimmicks, Creep Show, ton of films, and he comes in on what's that guy, Quentin Tarantino movies. He comes out in all kinds of shit like that. So he's a real well-known dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? And
what's his name? Sex Machine.
Yeah.
That's his name, Sex Machine, in those Dust Till Dawn and all that shit.
Yeah. That's the motherfucker. Yeah. So yeah, he's known, dude. He's over, dude. He's like Chris. You just say his name and people know who he is, dude. And
Yep.
what was I gonna say? So everyone's kind of going back and forth on whose idea it was, but I'm glad they did, or else there wouldn't have been any sequels, obviously, because you have to have that we'll see you next week, folks. That gimmick, dude, to get everyone kind of like, oh shit, But let's talk about the characters a little bit, dude. Everyone's a piece of shit. Am I right or what?
Chris?
No, I don't think that at all. I mean, I think Ms. obviously we all agree on Mrs. Voorhees, but I think Mark Nelson, as Ned Rubenstein is great. I think Robbi Morgan as Andy Phillips, that's a pretty large, because she's just way too happy and she's one of those chicks that wants to be the caretaker of kids and stuff like that, and she's all way too smiley and all that stuff. We've all known a woman like that in her life. Yeah. And then
I know a guy like that.
Yeah.
Sergeant Tierney is good. Honestly, I don't think Kevin Bacon is bad. He's just more of a mellow character.
Yeah, well, I don't think that they're not in the film too much. There's not too much going on, and when they're there, it's kind of like, whatever. But I want to hear what your take on everyone, Mark, and your thoughts of some of the people in the film, if you can remember their fucking name,
I can't remember one person's name. The only person I remember is Ned, because Chris keeps saying that person's name, dude. Oh, and
Ned Rubenstein, right?
And Chris in about 10 years, dude, that Ralph, that crazy Ralph or whatever, dude.
Mm-hmm.
That's those are people I remember. That everybody else is a throwaway character, dude. They're just interchangeable pieces of shit, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all there is to it. But did at any of you, when y'all were watching this, did it click in your head that Kevin Bacon's been in 2 iconic blockbuster, probably top 5 movies of all time, dude?
He's been in.
So one of them, huh?
You said 5 of them?
No, he's been in 2 of the top 5 blockbusters of all time, dude.
Who the fuck's playing? Is that you?
You know who it is. You know who it is, dude.
Oh yeah.
Hello. Chris.
Hi.
So, do you know what the two blockbusters he was in?
What, Footloose or what?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say because
Nope.
4 years later after this is Footloose.
Well,
Nope.
I know he came out on JFK.
Yep.
Oh yeah, as that queer dude, but no.
Yeah. You remember that? I don't know too much. I mean, I know he came out on Hollow Man, but I'm not too familiar with a lot
Come
of his.
on, dude.
Oh, Few Good Men.
Animal House.
You a good man. Man, Chris is less of a piece of shit than you are, dude. Is that what you're saying?
I said Animal House.
know
Dude. I
that-
said Animal House, dude.
No,
No.
that's shitty movie. So A Few Good Men, and then of course probably the most iconic movie in
Apollo
history
13.
of cinema, dude.
No.
Nope.
Ross Nixon.
Come on, dude. No, come on.
No idea, dude.
Fucking Tremors, dude. Tremors, dude.
Oh yeah, with those
Oh,
fucking gimmicks in the ground, right, dude?
Fucking dumbass thing.
Yeah.
I forgot I
Tremors.
completely forgot he was in Tremors, dude.
He's been chased by Jason Voorhees and the Graboid, dude. How over is that? Dude?
Yeah, dude, motherfucker's over though. I wish he would have done Freddy Krueger, dude, because he's got that. Oh, you know what? A movie I like that he comes out, I completely forgot about it. Is Sleepers. Have you ever seen Sleepers?
Oh yeah, I've seen that crap.
Yeah, where he's like raping little boys and they end up killing his ass towards the end of the film. But it's like a crazy ass sad story. He's got Brad Pitt and I think De Niro comes out in it. But yeah, it's
I know a guy that's possible of some shit like that.
Yeah, I know someone, dude. Chris, how's it going?
Hi.
Hello. So, and Stir of Echoes. You remember Stir of Echoes? That wasn't a big film, but it's when he finds like some girl who's murdered in a wall or some shit, and it's the neighbor. And it's a crazy film. But Kevin Bacon's over. He's like the only thing this film's got going for it, dude. You know, as far as star power. And he wasn't famous when this came out, of course. It was like
No.
a few years.
This is like when Johnny Depp did Nightmare 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, this is way before Tremors, dude. Before he became super hot.
Yeah, before he was over like a son of a bitch. And
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's like I thought what Mark said and what Mark thought about the whole thing is that, you know, I didn't know anything about Friday the 13th Part 1 until like later on. I just knew who Jason was, and I saw the cover of this, and I just thought, oh, it's Jason, whatever. I don't know that, you know, there was someone else before him, his mom. And like him, I watched, I think, Part 3 first, and then 4, and then, you know, 5, 6, and then I went back way later on, and I'm like, I think I saw Part 2 even before I saw Part 1 after that. And I was like, well, you know, what the hell's up with this bag gimmick? Where's the hockey mask? I was confused. And then we go to this one, and I'm expecting Jason the whole time, and it's the mom. I'm like, man, what the fuck is up with this? Because the whole film is just, you know, really boring for the most part. Once you get into to me, as far as you go to the other ones, like Mark said, because I've seen the other ones. So I have this expectation of what a Friday the 13th movie is going to be. And this film might be better than a few of them. I don't remember which ones, but maybe one or two. But this film gets a lot of like, oh, the first Friday the 13th. Like I see a lot of people say it's the best one. I'm like, are you kidding me? You fucking kidding me? You know, there's no Jason. You know, the mom's the best worker, and everyone else is kind of like, eh. You know, like my good friend Ray would say, eh. You know, but
this one made me want to see the second one.
Oh, really?
No. It didn't make me want to watch any of them after this.
No, that's what I'm saying. Because like, no, it made me want to see the second one. Like, obviously, if I had been alive in 1980 and like at least adolescent or older to see this first one, then yeah, probably not. But like knowing what I know ahead of time, and knowing how this one played out, it makes me want to see. Okay, so how do they get this character from what it was, this anonymous, you know, camera perspective face, and eventually a little boy. And then you finally, you know, get to this hockey mask wearing, machete wielding dude. How do we get from that to that? It makes me curious.
I like how Mark just straight up goes, and it makes me interested in seeing any of them after this. I was like, yeah, if I would have saw that, I would have just been like, okay, but I know that
what
there's
year? It was
1980.
1980, right?
Yeah.
Okay, how many classic horror movies came out before this? Exorcist.
Yeah, Exorcist, The Omen.
Halloween, right?
Yeah, Halloween.
Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I'm asking is
And?
how do people see this and say, man, this is a badass fucking movie, dude?
Yeah.
When the other ones are superior, way superior. Dude. This is just, you would think this is just a piece of shit, dude. That it would have died the first weekend and had never been heard of again.
Yeah.
Strong, weak start, strong sequels. But then think about this: 5 weeks before this came out was The Changeling.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
So again, how the fuck did this movie make so much money? And there's all these other badass movies before it that set the bar, dude.
Well, I think it's because the gore factor was really. I guess that's the thing that people were into, is that gore factor, is that because you're seeing the arrow, and that's the only thing that I can think of, because like you said, it's not like, oh, this is some revolutionary horror film. Like, fuck no, it's not. I mean, off the top of my head, you already mentioned The Exorcist. They had Texas Chainsaw Massacre in '74. Jaws, which they had Jaws in '75, which I don't consider Jaws an alien horror movies, because there's not, but they're horror movies. People want to put them as horror movies. And you got shit like that, which are good ass movies. That trilogy of terror with that little what is it? Have you ever seen that, where it's like a little doll, but it's like an African tribesman little thing with sharp teeth, and he has like a little fork. Chris probably's never seen it, but they had like a lot of crazy shit out there. There was The Hills Have Eyes, which is the director from A Nightmare on Elm Street. He did that one, and there was a lot of films that were out. Salem's Lot by Stephen King, The Amityville Horror, and then you have this pile of shit, according to Mark, dude. Yeah, this pile of shit that, like he said, it started a franchise, and it made how many million, Chris? Like, what was it? Like 50 or 80 million?
58 million.
Yeah, it's like, wow, it made a lot of fucking money, but I think it was just the gore factor that got people interested. It's like, Chris, you can't stop watching them. You just, it's ridiculous, over the top, dude.
And he's down for you. When you hear him coming, what you gonna do? It's Triple I, Friday night.
Give this bitch a rating, so I'm gonna let Chris go first, because I know he's gonna copy what we say, so I want to hear.
Oversell it.
Yeah.
He's gonna oversell it, dude. You know that.
Go ahead, Chris. Your honest opinion. Everyone thinks different, but I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it and your rating. Well, your rating first, and then your thoughts, because you get caught up.
What's the scale on rating?
Out of 10, dude. Why can't we just do out of 5? I'm good at doing it out of 5.
No, shut up. I'm probably gonna give this one. a 7.5 out of 10, because it's like, on the one hand, it's intriguing enough that I want to keep watching. I want to keep seeing what happens. But on the other hand, it was a letdown. Like, I was expecting so much more based on what I knew about Jason, and this series of movies. It was kind of weak. So I'm waiting to see what's going to happen in 2 and 3 to see how this builds and develops. So I'm going to go with 7.5.
All right, Mark. Let's hear your side of the story, dude.
You're actually gonna ask me that for real, dude?
Mm-hmm. Let's hear it. I'm doing the Christopher J.
Obviously,
Christopher J.
Anybody that says anything above 1 doesn't know shit about movies, has no cinema taste at all, dude.
Mm-hmm.
This is a straight up 1, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Bad storyline, bad acting. What else do you need, dude?
Yeah. Man, you're dragging the name through the mud, huh? I'm gonna give go ahead, dude. I can't wait to hear you trash it more.
I'm graded it on the like I can't really put it like in an Exorcist or Chain Link, because those are good stories and lots of good acting. I'm grading it against the Freddy, dude, the Freddy scale, where it's kind of ridiculous, but it's entertaining, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. It's still a 1, dude.
Yeah.
It's still a 1. It's terrible.
I love it. I love it. I'm a horror fanatic, so I can watch a lot of shitty stuff and enjoy it. This is a little bit better.
Does the same though.
Yeah, I'm a horror. I can still enjoy it. As far as is it something I want to put on, like you said, Freddy Krueger. I'll put on Freddy Krueger when I'm bored because it's like I just want to watch something, so I'll put on Freddy because it's entertaining, and just put it on, like the way you do with Die Hard or the way you do with just just put it on. With this film, I could never do that. I could never do that. It's not something that I'm gonna go out of my way to watch. The only reason I did do it is because most of the time when I'm watching this film, I kind of get bored, and it's so hard to kind of keep track of what's going on because you're like not much is going on. So when we're doing,
it's hard to concentrate, right?
yeah, when we're doing a podcast, it's like, well, what happens next? Well, they're just kind of swimming, doing nothing, and then after that, someone asks about it. There's nothing really to talk about because nothing's really going on. There's a killer that's doing stuff, and that's what the film focuses on, which is okay. But as far as everything else, it sucks. The highlight of the film is you're getting gory deaths for the time, right? You're getting the kills, and that's really it. I mean, with that, I'm gonna give it like a 3 out of 10. It's not something that I'm gonna watch. The story is not really that great. I mean, they took that story and they blew it up in the rest of the films. Like they made it more over. It's like, oh, this kid, he died, but he didn't really die. Here, you don't have any of that. It's just, oh, mom's back for revenge. And like I talked about it earlier in the podcast, it's Psycho just reversed. And because if you see the movie Psycho, it's the main character, he kind of like channels his mother's thoughts or whatever, and she's dead, and he's like the killer, And this one, it's the mother who's the killer who's channeling her son, and the music sounds exactly the same. They copy some of the Jaws things, which we talked about. And if I'm gonna say watch Friday the 13th or watch Psycho, I'm gonna say watch Psycho, 10 times out of 10 over this, because Psycho's a much better story, better acting. Even though it's in black and white and all that shit, you enjoy the fuck out of it to me because I've seen these other films. And this film didn't have anything memorable for it, and like I know what's coming after this, so I whatever. But if I would have saw this, I'm like, I'm not gonna watch this shit, It's like the Paranormal Activity films that come out year after year, or did back then. It's like, why the fuck are people coming to watch these, And that's what I say about this. It's like, once you saw this one, this is all there is. It's just a bunch of gore. The only thing that gets it more over later on is you got Jason there, and you got some really over-the-top characters in some of them. But yeah, this film. And when I was a kid growing up, I used to tell myself, how come there's not a Nancy in there? And I'm not talking about some motherfucker that's over. I'm talking about like a Nightmare on Elm Street Nancy, right? You know who Nancy is.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a Jessie in there. There's not a fucking Kirsten. There's not an Alice. Or there's Alice in this one, but there's not that person.
Somebody that stands out.
Yeah.
Somebody that stands out, dude.
And then even like the friends, like you like I mean, Mark. You see all the other people there, and sometimes they're a hit, but there's a few misses. But even their friends, they're over. Like Rod Lane from the first Nightmare on Elm Street, he's entertaining as hell, and he's not even the main character. And this one, there's no one that's like that. That's even the main star. It's just like, okay, she's kind of like reserved and bored, and I don't know. Bad film. I'll stop ranting now, but that's what podcasts are for.
No, I mean I could tell you I could agree if I'm coming at it from the perspective of, let's say I'm 14 years old in 1980, and this movie comes out, and my parents give me money to go see a film or whatever, and I go see this. I mean, yeah, there's going to be a big part of me that's going to be disappointed in this, and I'm not going to trust enough and have the confidence enough to go want to see the sequel. But I mean, knowing what I know now from the perspective of having not even been born in 1980, 2 years later I was born. And knowing what I know, I'm engaged where, okay, well, how do they get from that to where they got in the third and fourth one?
You're telling me is that if your parents would have gave you money, you would have saw this, you said, I should have spent my money on a belt buster, dude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It would have been more fulfilling.
Yeah. Or 2 belt busters. Yeah, it was. Like I said, I'm a big horror movie fan, and I know Mark is too. He's seen shit that I like, all the classics, 70s, 80s, as far as like all kinds of movies. So he'll come up with some shit. He'll be like, you haven't seen that? And for him to say he doesn't like a classic like this, dude, that's telling you something, dude. That's telling you something. So I'm glad I'm out wrong, dude. I'm glad I'm not the only one that feels like, damn, this film is fucking super overrated. Because I hear people, they talk about this film like it's, like it's The Godfather or whatever, like, that's supposed to be over like a son of a bitch. I'm like, really? This film is... Not interested, dude. I just throw my hands up like that, dude. So.
And of course, who would think it's good, dude. The guy that loves to bottom feed you. That's why I give it a 7 out of 10, dude. That was great.
If I could phrase it this way, this movie's like, you know how when there's an established series of movies, and then, you know, decades after the fact, they decide to make prequels for them to show you what the origins of someone is?
Yeah.
That is what this movie is, but it's the very first actual chronological movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they, in the remake, were away from there, but I think with us trashing this film, kind of explains why in the remake they didn't even bother telling this mother story. They just kind of like, okay, we'll take this whole movie and we'll condense it to a 2 or 3 minute thing, you know, and that's it, you know. That's all they did. They just had the mom kind of have like you know, beginning of the film have like the flashback of the mom talking to like the surviving girl the same way, and that was it. I'm like, yeah, that's all you needed. You didn't need this whole we're stalking you in the woods, nothing's happening, no one cares about any of the characters. You know, Steve Christie's walking around shirtless the whole time, and he's gone the whole. Like, what's the point of this film? Like, you know, there's like nothing going on at all. And yeah, I'm glad they did that. So, people always trash.
I'm gonna say the full name.
Oh, well, I'm not gonna say Steve because Steve Christie, dude, because he's the one that owns the camp, dude.
So why do you gotta say Steve Christie? You can't just say Steve the camp owner?
Well, I could say Steve Christie or Steve the camp owner. It's a lot longer, dude.
No, but Steve Christie.
Yeah, they say his name the whole they say his name like that the whole time.
Ned Rubenstein.
Like freaking the truck driver that drives Annie, you know, part of the way over there, and he's all, you hear what Christie's doing over there? You know, your boss Christie, you know, like.
Yeah, that's why.
He says the last name. He doesn't say the full name. That's what I'm getting at.
Well, Christie sounds like a chick's name, dude. So I don't want to just say Steve because Steve doesn't sound right, dude. It doesn't have that you know, Rod or Nancy or Tina. Those names are over. These people, we have to get them over on who they are, dude. So that's what it is. So
I'm not interested.
Yeah, so Friday the 13th, we trashed it. I know people are going to be really upset. They're going to be like, what, this classic, these motherfuckers, and Christopher J's getting it over, you know. But, like after I saw this, exactly like Mark said, dude, I'm like, it kind of, like, because I like to do the films all in a row for the most part, but I'm like, man, I really want to spread these Friday the 13th out, dude, because I don't want to see them, like, consecutively, because I'll be really bored out of my fucking mind. All right, dude, on to part 6, you know. I'll be like, fuck, no. Fuck no, I ain't even be interested in that shit by then. But actually, 4, 5, and 6, 4 and 6 are really good, I think. But yeah, 3's okay.
But you know, you also got to say, you know, if it wasn't for Friday the 13th, you know, this one starting the franchise out, you know, you wouldn't have that fucking song you love.
Oh, XIII, dude. Oh, dude. Now we know what we're gonna put on this fucking podcast. Music, dude. So Mark's gonna have a good time tomorrow when he's jamming
What
out.
does that crap have to do with? Right? I mean, they're both. I guess they're both pieces of shit. So I guess they go together. What does it have to do with?
Well,
what does one have to do with the other?
They made that song for the Friday the 13th video game, dude. So yeah, they had made that song. I think they have another song called "Killer on the Loose" or some bullshit. I don't know, but they made a few. They made a few songs for the video game. So Friday the 13th, XIII. That's why, dude. So,
and for those listening that don't know this, like, you think about Nightmare on Elm Street 3, and they had Doc in Dream Warriors. So if this song, if you want to conceptualize of it, if let's say Friday the 13th Part 4, Part 5, because that would have been mid 80s when that kind of genre of music would have been out. Like, this song would have fit one of those Jason movies perfectly, the way Dream Warriors did for Nightmare 3.
I think if they would have used it for a film or two or whatever, yeah, dude, it would have got it over because they would have brought some, you know, high intensity to the films that like Dream Warriors does for Nightmare 3. Like you said, this film's kind of like just that the whole fucking time. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but yeah, they do that.
Dun, 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 dun.